Welcome to Hong Kong! Where to start with this absolutely beautiful city? I think a lot of reasons why so many people absolutely love Hong Kong is because it just has everything. And you've got the amazing city, the jungle city. It's got beautiful beaches. You can go north into the new territories and you can see more foresty areas. It's a mountainous area, so you can do lots of hiking here. You can go up mountains and see amazing views. So I'm not even sure where entirely to start when talking about Hong Kong. So I'm just going to start right at the beginning, entering Hong Kong. So most people will most likely come here by aeroplane and you'll fly into Hong Kong airport, which is on Lantau Island. We didn't come in this way. We entered Hong Kong via Shenzhen. I'm going to talk more about that in my video of crossing borders, going between Shenzhen, Hong Kong to Macau, Macau to Shenzhen again. I guess the next really important thing that a lot of people care about is money. Now, if you haven't heard of the octopus card, maybe this is your first time researching into Hong Kong. In which case, welcome. I'm glad you're viewing my video on this. The octopus card has been used here for a very long time now, and it's what I would think the majority of people still use when paying for just general things. If you want to buy a can of Coke, you would use the octopus card. You go into the metro system, use the octopus card. You want to pay in a restaurant, you can use the octopus card. Now, we didn't try to use it in the hotel, so I'm not too sure about that. So maybe bring some extra cash with you. But also the octopus cards are also available to buy like online in, I'm assuming, in your own country. So we can get it on Taobao in China, but I'm pretty sure you'd be able to find them in, say, like Amazon as well. And you can buy them with money already on them. So you've got some spending money straight away, especially if you need to get a bus or a metro from the airport or any sort of entry point you're coming from. And the octopus card is really easy to put more money on it. You just go to a metro, and you put the octopus card in the machine, and you can easily top it up that way. Do try to buy one before you arrive. Other than that, make sure you bring some extra cash with you just in case, especially if you need to put like a deposit for the hotel. Maybe you can use the octopus card for that. We didn't try, but so make sure you got some extra cash for the deposit, or a Visa card for the deposit as well. Visa is accepted here. Visa debit our hotel didn't take, so be a little bit careful if you're using Visa or Visa debit. If you're coming from mainland China, some places will accept renminbi as well. And then there's WeChat and Alipay as well. I felt very comfortable coming here thinking I could just use WeChat Pay, as I use that all the time in mainland. However, when I got here, I discovered I wasn't able to use my WeChat because I'm a foreign citizen inside China. I can use WeChat in mainland China. I can't use WeChat Pay here in Hong Kong. But obviously, luckily, Felicity was able to use WeChat Pay, so I could just rely on her. Getting around Hong Kong is really easy. They have a fantastic metro system here. The metro, this is probably my favorite metro system. You get on, there are certain stops when you want to interchange, for example, between the dark blue line and the red line. They sort of interchange at Admiralty station. So you get off at Admiralty from the blue line, and just across isn't the blue line going in the opposite direction, it's the Admiralty line going in most likely the direction you want. So it is super convenient, absolutely amazing that this is at several interchange places. I can't say it's at all of them. There is a chance it isn't going the direction you want, but it is going the main direction, which would have the majority of the stops. And if you just needed like the extra few stops, then okay, maybe you do need to find your way there. But it was a genius layout, a genius design here in Hong Kong's metro system. You should always try and take the famous Ding Ding. I think the Ding Ding has been here for many years now. It's a historic way of traveling around Hong Kong. Luckily, when we was just traveling around, it was actually best for us to take this. We didn't have to go out of our way to try and take the Ding Ding. We just happened to be going in the direction, and the Ding Ding was the better option for us to take. So definitely try and ride the Ding Ding as it goes across the Hong Kong Island. So if you had the night out in Lan Kwai Fang, and you can get a ding ding across to say like Wan Chai where we are staying. And it's also just good to try and find a way to take the ding ding, as I say, because of the historicalness of it, and it just feels very traditional, like you're living the Hong Kong experience in your probably short time here. The bus service is also great. Well, we took a bus around, especially when we was going to the beach. The bus service was very quick, it's very convenient. I don't find the roads too busy here, just generally, I don't find the roads too busy here. So the bus is very fast. We went quite a long way, which would have been a couple of hours walk, but the bus managed to get us to the beach in like 30 minutes. It's not overly busy, the roads were very clear, and very convenient to take the bus. Now, we didn't take a single taxi when we was here, but taxis are a very good option here. There are taxis everywhere, and walking is the other option, as you can generally get where you want just by walking 10, 15, 20 minutes. Now, obviously, Hong Kong is known to be quite an expensive city, and we came here in peak time. It's Chinese New Year, and so the hotel prices are expensive. I took a screenshot of where we stayed. We actually managed to get it a little bit cheaper than the screenshot suggests. It was 1,000 Hong Kong dollars a night, so it was very expensive. There were cheaper places, but they weren't necessarily in the location we wanted, and we wanted something a little more comfortable. So even during Chinese New Year, there are definitely cheap places you can get for 400-500 Hong Kong dollars. But if you want something a little bit more, it is the peakiest of peakiest times. It's going to be expensive. Try to come here in non-peak times where you'll be able to get the better prices for these hotels. I would say the hotel was probably about a 500 to 600 Hong Kong dollar price, but the peak time, obviously, with the amount of people that are going to want to come here during this time, it was very, very busy. There are also hotels all over the place. We stayed on Hong Kong Island, but you can also stay on Kowloon. These are going to be the most likely places you can stay, but you can stay all the way near the beach area if you just want to relax, or you can go to Lantau Island, especially if you want to go to Disneyland. Maybe it's better to stay slightly closer to it on Lantau. And now, what can you do in Hong Kong? Pretty much everything. Everything is kind of here. I don't think you're going to be limited or disappointed with the amount of things that you can do here in Hong Kong. We done a lot of the touristy things, and this is where the peak time madness really comes in and makes you question about coming here during this time of year. But we still had an absolutely amazing time. Again, we've done the most popular attractions, and at this time of year we had some incredibly long lines, so we definitely could have, maybe with a little bit of hindsight, could have planned it a little bit better. But when we arrived, we wanted to check out Victoria Park, as there was a flower show going on for Chinese New Year as part of the celebrations. Saw some very pretty flowers as we slowly made our way forward through all the people that were there. But just generally, Victoria Park is a nice way to just chill and relax and enjoy some downtime here in Hong Kong. And next day here, we started very early going to the Monster building. One of my favorite things here, it sounds like it's just a building. It's not too much. You can see buildings all over the place. The way this building is designed was really cool. When you're there, it does feel like it's very much enclosing it. You do feel like a little bit like, not quite claustrophobic, but you definitely feel the presence of these huge buildings. And you can get some fantastic video there, you can get some fantastic Instagram photos there. Architecture there is very cool. It's always nice to see how the locals live, as I feel like this is a very local building. There are local businesses just below it, but I definitely would say that this is one of the cool things to check out here in Hong Kong. As we then went from Hong Kong, went from the Monster building to Choi Huang Estate, or also known as the Rainbow Building, which again is just basically like an Instagram set. But whilst people are there trying to take their Instagram photos, some guy came in and started playing basketball. Can you believe that? Some people are just a little bit rude, what can we say? But the building is spectacular, and it's good to kind of see how, sort of like where local people lived and sort of wander around the area. I think it's just to get the feel and vibe of the people who live there. And this was all going great, and then this is where the peak time madness for us really started to kick in, as we was like, oh, it's only a few stops away from a very big temple, or a very famous temple there. And then we went to the temple only to find it to be, well, there was a lot of people, and a lot of people wanted to have the sticks that create a lot of smoke. And once you're kind of in this line, it's very hard to turn back and leave. So we kind of had to make our way through this. We just wanted to check out the temple, maybe make a prayer and see the Buddha. But unfortunately, this wasn't really the case. We couldn't really do it. We really wish we didn't make this trip. I'm sure the temple is fantastic in non-peak times, but during peak time, this is definitely a please avoid. And we decided now would be the best time to go Victoria Peak, and this was one hell of a line. We were in line for over an hour. Totally on us, Victoria Peak is a great place. You can get up there by an incredibly well-engineered tram. This tram is very cool and definitely one of the highlights of Victoria Peak. So the view is fantastic, but getting up or down there via the tram, this is what the line was. The line for the tram was so long. It might be best to potentially hike up to Victoria Peak, or take a bus to Victoria Peak, or take a taxi to Victoria Peak early in the morning before any traffic or any long lines for the bus, and then take the tram down, as the tram is definitely a fantastic part of this journey and a part of the experience of Victoria Peak. But one good thing about doing Victoria Peak in the evening is that it's a 10-minute walk away from Lantau Island, and you can just finish Victoria Peak and go have an amazing night out in Lantau Island. Now, as I say, Hong Kong has so much more than just a city, and one of the best things to do here is to try and find a hike. One of the most popular hikes is the Dragon Back Trail, which is an incredible hike, which I think even if you're an experienced hiker, you will still enjoy this. It's not the most difficult, and it can be done between, depending on how many photos or video you want to take, it will probably take you between an hour to 2 hours. If you are just hiking and you're an experienced hiker, you could probably do it in slightly less than an hour, but I think for most people, it's going to take between an hour to 2 hours. And it's a really enjoyable hike with some amazing views. The bus is perfect for this. The bus, the number 9 bus, will take you all the way to the start. However, the starting point for this, I actually think should be the end of it. When you get off the train terminal, it might be worth finding the end of the Dragon Back Trail and starting at the end and walking to the start, because then you can jump on the number 9 bus and end up at Shico Beach. The track itself doesn't end at the beach. The track ends closer to the bus terminal. So it's definitely better to start at the end, work your way to the beginning, jump on the bus as everybody else is getting off to begin the trail, and make your way to Shico Beach, which is beautiful. We got there for sunset. It's definitely the place you want for sunrise, but we got there for sunset and it still looked beautiful. It's a beautiful beach, and just enjoy the beach, chill, relax, grab a drink and unwind at the beach. As like, how many better places are there to unwind than at a beach? We then took, on our next day, we then took a trip to Lantau Island. By this time we was exhausted. We woke up early to go to Lantau to see the giant Buddha, which I guess is marvelous. I mean, even the design on such a big Buddha is incredible. The eyes were very detailed. The detail on the clothing. It's an incredible view. But again, there's a lot of people there. It's going to be a very popular place. We decided to get the cable car up and down, just like Victoria Peak, because we couldn't really find too much information online about the best way to travel. I was like, it's just probably easier for us to get the cable car up. But when we got up there, we saw that, hey, you can get a bus up here, you can get a taxi up here. Of course, you could hike up there. We always knew you could hike up there, but there was no way we was going to hike all that way, especially after doing the hike the previous day. And we thought maybe it would have been better to like arrive early, get like a taxi up to the top, or take a bus up to the top, and then take the cable car down. One of the most popular part that people really love doing in the cable cars is to buy the crystal clear cable car. And then you've got like window, your whole cable car is like a window. We didn't do this, we didn't feel the need. And then you can kind of like lie on the floor with the window, you can see underneath. No matter how you get up there through the cable car, there's gonna be a line. Everyone is in one line, and eventually you get put into separate lines. From the standard line, which is what we got, which is the cheapest ticket, the medium price ticket, which has a windowed floor, but not windows covering the whole side, and then the crystal clear cable car, which is just all window, and you can get probably the best photos in that kind of cable car. But how we noticed it when we was riding this cable car, it was like 2 standard ones, 1 floor window, 2 standard ones, 1 floor window, 2 standard cable cars, 1 floor cable car, and then there was a crystal clear cable car. So there aren't that many crystal clear cable cars when you're going up to Lantau. So you still have to wait. If you bought the most expensive ticket, you've got to wait for that cable car to come round, and there are less of them. And the last thing, if you are definitely looking for things to do in Hong Kong, the best place to do any research is the Hong Kong Tourism Board, the Hong Kong Tourism Board website. There is so much information on there about what you can do here in Hong Kong. We knew that, for instance, Hello Kitty's 50th anniversary was happening here in Hong Kong because of the Tourism Board website. And of course, Hong Kong is famous for shopping. We went to 2 shopping areas, the Harbour City, which I just mentioned, where Hello Kitty was, and Causeway Bay. Both of these were rammed full of people. There's many more places you can go shopping here in Hong Kong. It really is, I'm assuming, a shopper's dream. Okay, on to the food. Now, Hong Kong, I believe, is very famous for food. I think the quality of food here is very high, and I thoroughly enjoyed. We ate so much food here. We tried to find what was some traditional Hong Kong food, and there is so much. Now, some of these traditional foods may not necessarily have started here in Hong Kong, whether it's come from, like, say, Singapore or Guangdong, or even from Europe. But these are traditional foods that when we were talking to people here, or from research we done online, this is what was generally considered to be more traditional. And whenever I talk to people in China about, like, the Chinese food in the UK, they always say, that sounds more Cantonese. So I guess a lot of the Chinese food we eat in the UK, and I'm assuming America and other Western countries as well, that's going to be kind of Hong Kong style food. So sweet and sour pork and sweet and sour chicken balls. We also found out that fish balls were quite traditional here as well. We had this on our first night here. We found a very cool little restaurant. I had some beef brisket as well when we were going to Shico Beach. On the way back, we found a cool little local restaurant where I managed to get a beef brisket. What most people definitely think of when they think of Hong Kong food is dim sum. And what is dim sum? It's often a question I've always asked, because when you ask what is dim sum, it's not like, hey, it's this. It's like chicken cooked in this sauce. Dim sum to me is quite similar to tapas. And I feel quite confident saying this, even though I'm not Spanish or from Hong Kong, because when we've gone to some dim sum restaurants, basically there's a bunch of different food you can order. Now, the food comes in slightly smaller portions, and you order, say, like 5 or 6 dishes, and you get them all together and you eat them, sort of similar to tapas, where the dishes are smaller and you order 5 or 6 of them, depending on how many people there are, and you just kind of eat them. So what that we ordered was very delicious. Some of it was just so-so, but on the whole, there was definitely some absolutely delicious dim sum delicacies. I can't remember off the top of my head every single dish we ate. So quite the famous ones also sort of come in that sort of like wooden pot where they get steamed, and we had some very nice steamed pork buns, probably my favorite. Here, shrimp dim sum is very traditional. Got some of those, which in the restaurant we tried them in were fantastic. We had some rice with chicken and fish on top of it. We got another fish dish, which turned out to be quite spicy. It was sort of like cooked on a green pepper. I'm going to show you some more images of the dim sum we got, as I can't remember off the top of my head, but I thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's definitely worth trying because you can just get a bunch of different food. So you can take a look at the menu and you can decide what it is that you want. And also another thing that we found out that was quite popular here, or quite traditional, is roast goose. Now, I love roast meat, so this was definitely something I wanted to try. A couple of famous, more desserty types would be sort of like the pineapple bread with a slice of butter inside. And egg tarts are very popular here. I think they're very popular in Macau as well, but we also got an egg tart here. Some other food that we wish we could try that we discovered from talking with local people and online is rickshaw noodles, which I think is popular in many other places as well, like Singapore. Clay pot rice, wind sand chicken. We didn't quite find these, so maybe they're not as traditional as we thought, or just because it's Chinese New Year and many restaurants are currently closed, we are very full. But it's definitely a fantastic reason to come to Hong Kong, is just to eat. It's worth trying so much of the food here. One last thing I will say as one recommendation when you're coming here, and what you can do and what will help you get around, is to have a translation app on your phone. Actually, it was quite fine. We managed to communicate in English or in Chinese perfectly well here. However, I would say in some restaurants they don't have an English menu. So if I use WeChat as an image translator, if you can get something else as an image translator to translate the menus that aren't in English, This is going to help you so much in trying to find local food that you want to eat. And another massive friend of yours will be some sort of map. I use Apple Maps all the time, but I'm sure Google Maps or any other sort of map app will be useful here as well. Finding the best way around and the best transportation to take through Apple Maps is perfect. They've got all the sort of the bus times as well. So when we was waiting for our bus and it was like, my phone said it was 5 minutes away, lo and behold, 5 minutes later, our bus showed up. And if it's your dream to come here, I hope this video has provided you with some useful information on what it is you can do here, eat, activities, where to get around, how to get around, where to stay. And if this video has provided you with any sort of useful information, please like and subscribe. But that's enough for now, and as we say in China, bye bye.